Royal honors and freaky choppers never got between them. Did the Queen have a favorite granddaughter-in-law? We might have just found her.
The outlet also had a source who shared an interesting rumor. They claim Elizabeth changed her will before she passed, giving Kate the jewelry collection and perhaps not leaving any of the pieces for Camilla or Meghan Markle.
She really liked Catherine. She thought she would be a perfect addition, not only to the royal fold, but a perfect future queen.
Kate wore the Cartier Halo Tiara, a special piece from Queen Elizabeth's personal collection that the monarch wore before she became queen.
Being the future Queen of England is, as they say, a pretty big deal. At the least, Princess Catherine will never have to curtsy again.
She's equally decided to be a volunteer scout, so supporting children out and about, enjoying country pursuits as she does.
Seward also said that Kate Middleton, as the future queen, will receive the lion's share of Elizabeth's jewelry.
The Queen was really interested in Catherine as a person and really interested in being able to support her and mentor her as well.
I think the Queen admired Catherine's quiet dedication, the fact that she was such a support to William.
Kate's had a natural evolution of her role in the last few years, and we're seeing her more at the forefront of the royal family.
There's no doubt that Queen Elizabeth was fond of Kate Middleton, and she showed her affection by gifting Middleton with the Royal Family Order, a rare honor that is bestowed solely on the female members of the royal family.
I mean, it's very difficult, I think, for anybody who's come from the outside of the royal family to a full-on public figure.
Prior to her death, Elizabeth lent or gifted jewelry to Kate often. Kate seemed to be the only member of the royal family who was able to wear the Queen's jewelry regularly.
There was a meeting that almost no one knew about. Not a formal reception, not a state occasion, no cameras, no press, no other members of the family present. Just two women, one of them the most powerful monarch on earth, sitting across from each other in a private room at Buckingham Palace over tea and finger sandwiches. And what was said in that room may have changed the course of the British monarchy forever. If you want more deep dives like this, make sure to subscribe to Royal Archives. This is the story Russell Myers didn't bury in the footnotes. It's sitting right there in the pages of his new book, William and Catherine. And yet somehow almost no one is talking about what it actually means. Because this wasn't small talk. This wasn't protocol. And this was the Queen, a woman who spent 70 years keeping emotional distance as a matter of policy, deciding to break her own rules for one person, quietly, privately, in a way she never repeated with anyone else. That's where the story starts getting interesting. It was December 2010. Prince William had just announced his engagement to Catherine Middleton, and the palace machinery had immediately kicked into gear. Guest lists, seating arrangements, ceremonial briefings, the kind of logistics that swallow people whole. But somewhere in the middle of all that, the Queen made a decision that had nothing to do with logistics. She asked to see Catherine. Alone. According to Myers, who spoke to senior palace sources for the book, Catherine was understandably nervous heading into that meeting. She had met the Queen before, but always with William nearby, always with other family members as a buffer. This was different. No buffer, no script, just her. She fixed her hair in the car on the way there, touched up her makeup, asked aides what she should wear, what she should say. The woman who would one day walk into rooms with the composure of someone born to it. That woman was genuinely rattled heading into Buckingham Palace that afternoon. She didn't need to worry, because the Queen wasn't interested in wedding details. She wasn't there to quiz Catherine on royal protocol or run through expectations. According to one former courtier who spoke to Myers, what the Queen offered in that room was something far more personal, words of encouragement, genuine ones. And then, this is the part that stops you. She gave Catherine private guidance on how to deal with headstrong husbands. Let that sit for a moment. The Queen. A woman whose own marriage lasted more than 70 years, a woman who had navigated decades alongside Prince Philip, a man known for being forceful, direct, and entirely unwilling to be managed. She didn't offer platitudes. She offered experience. Real, hard-won, deeply personal experience that no protocol manual in any palace library could ever contain, and she offered it to Catherine, not to anyone else. To her. Myers writes that the Queen drew a direct line between her own marriage and what Catherine was walking into. Prince Philip was similarly forthright, she acknowledged. He could be immovable. And she had learned, over 7 decades, that a certain kind of patience wasn't weakness, it was strategy. And she passed that knowledge across the table, quietly, over tea, to the woman she had already decided would shape the next generation of the monarchy. Catherine left that meeting with what one source described as a spring in her step. That's not the reaction of someone who just sat through a formal briefing. That's the reaction of someone who felt seen, understood, backed. But here's what's raising eyebrows about this story. The Queen was not known for this. She was famously, almost rigidly, consistent about maintaining distance, even from people she genuinely liked. A former aide once described her unwritten rule as simple: you never allow yourself to get too close. It wasn't coldness, it was policy. And it was how she protected both herself and the institution for 7 decades without flinching. So the question isn't just what she said to Catherine in that room. The question is why she said it at all. Because around the same time, there was another woman entering this family. Another bride, another person who would need to navigate palace life, royal expectation, and yes, a headstrong husband. That woman never got a private tea. No one is saying that directly. The record doesn't show a comparable meeting, a comparable gesture, a comparable moment of the Queen pulling someone aside and saying, I see you. I'm rooting for you. Here's what I know. Here's how you survive this place. Some online discussions have pointed to this contrast for months. The observation keeps surfacing that the Queen's investment in Catherine wasn't just emotional. It was deliberate, calculated even. That she looked at Catherine early, before the engagement ring, before the wedding plans, before the world had fully caught up, and made a quiet judgment call about who this woman was and what she was capable of becoming. Myers is careful with his language, but the picture he builds is hard to misread. He describes the Queen as being, and this phrase keeps coming up in the book, genuinely interested in Catherine as a person, not as William's girlfriend, not as a future title, not as a public relations asset for an institution badly in need of one, as a person, a real one. And that interest went deeper than any single meeting. According to Myers, the Queen made a habit of inviting Catherine for private conversations well beyond that December afternoon. Multiple occasions, ongoing contact, a relationship that developed steadily, deliberately, away from cameras and court protocol. The headstrong husband's conversation wasn't a one-off gesture. It was the beginning of something longer. And then there's the breakup. In 2007, 3 years before the engagement at Ian, William and Catherine briefly separated. It lasted only a matter of months. The tabloids descended. Speculation ran in every direction. And in that window, something happened that Myers reveals quietly but clearly in the book. The Queen intervened. She spoke to William privately, and she told him, directly without softening it, that Catherine had in her assessment all the qualities of a future queen. She didn't hedge, and she didn't frame it as a suggestion. She told him, a monarch delivering a verdict to her grandson about the woman he was about to walk away from. That is not a grandmother giving relationship advice. That is a succession judgment. Delivered in private years before anyone outside the family would have used that language about Catherine Middleton. Think about what that means. The Queen, who crossed out the word very from a speech because she considered it an overstatement of feeling, told William plainly that the woman he was considering leaving was the right woman for the throne. She saw it before he did. She said it out loud before he was ready to hear it. And when they reconciled, when the engagement was announced, when the wedding plans began, the Queen didn't sit back and let the institution handle the rest. She arranged the meeting. She sat down with Catherine personally. She passed on what she knew. That's not protocol. That's mentorship. Deliberate, personal, and entirely out of character for a woman who had kept even her most trusted advisors at a careful arm's length for most of her reign. Myers is specific about what that mentorship looked like beyond the December meeting. It continued. There were ongoing conversations about the pressures of public life, about the weight of the role, about what it actually takes to carry an institution on your shoulders without letting anyone see the strain. Catherine wasn't just welcomed into the family, she was quietly prepared for it. There's a difference. And in the British royal family, that difference is everything. One detail from Myers's book has stayed with people who've read it. Sir Catherine's first Christmas at Sandringham, new to the family, uncertain of the rhythms, trying to find her footing inside a tradition she had only ever observed from the outside. She gave the Queen a jar of homemade chutney. A small thing, handmade, personal, slightly risky for someone trying to make the right impression. The next day, that jar was sitting on the dining table. The Queen put it out, not because she had to, not because Sandringham protocol required a display of gifted chutneys, because she wanted Catherine to see it, wanted her to know the gesture had landed, that she was paying attention, that the effort mattered. That single detail tells you more about this relationship than any formal description could. And there's the tiara. Catherine walked down the aisle on her wedding day wearing the Queen's own Cartier halo tiara, a piece the Queen had been given by her parents on her 18th birthday. Not a loaned royal jewel pulled from inventory. Her tiara. The one with personal history attached to it. The symbolism of that choice sitting on Catherine's head as she became a member of the family was not accidental. Nothing in that family is accidental. Myers frames the broader relationship between the two women as something that went well beyond jewelry and public occasions. Though those were real and meaningful, what he describes is a sustained private investment, a senior woman looking at a younger one and deciding, early, quietly, firmly, that this is the person. This is who carries it forward. And here's what makes this story land differently in 2026 than it might have even 2 years ago. Catherine is still here, still working, after everything, the illness, the recovery, the relentless scrutiny, the months away from public view. She came back. And she came back with the same composure the Queen saw in her 20 years ago when she was fixing her hair in the back of a car on the way to Buckingham Palace. The institution she's now helping to lead has been through more turbulence in the last decade than most monarchies survive across generations. Public confidence has been tested. The family's image has taken hits that would have fractured less resilient structures. And through all of it, Catherine has been, by almost every account, calm and steady, measured, unrattled in the specific way the Queen valued above almost anything else. Some would say that's personality. Some would say it's training. Myers's book suggests it might be both, and that the training started earlier and ran deeper than most people realized. The woman who walked into that private room in December 2010, nervous enough to touch up her makeup in the car, is now the most consequential figure in the future of the British monarchy, the one the institution leans on, the one who shows up, the one who, when everything else was uncertain, held the line. The Queen saw that coming. She saw it in 2007 when she told William not to let her go. She saw it in December 2010 when she cleared the room, poured the tea, and said, "Here's what I know about headstrong husbands. Here's what I know about this family. Here's what I know about surviving it." Russell Myers documented it. But the Queen wrote the original script. There was a meeting almost no one knew about. 2 women, a private room, a table set for an informal catch-up that turned into something far more significant. And somewhere in that conversation, between the tea going cold and the finger sandwiches going untouched, a decision was quietly confirmed. Not about a wedding, not about a guest list, about who would carry this institution forward when the time came. The Queen chose carefully. She always did. And if you've been watching Catherine these last few years, the composure, the endurance, the quiet refusal to break under pressure that would have finished most people, you might find yourself thinking exactly what observers have been saying since Myers's book landed. She was ready because someone made sure of it. And long before anyone else saw what was coming. That's the story no headline quite captured. And it's one royal archives will keep following, because this family has a way of revealing itself slowly in private rooms, over tea, in gestures most people miss entirely. Make sure you're subscribed to Royal Archives so you don't miss what's coming next.